and welcome back to... No, we can't. Our next episode of the MDCP podcast. No, we can't. We're going to keep some order into the organisation, at least to start the call, so we look like we know what we're doing and we're professional. For those who are watching, those who are listening,
I think you're aiming a little high right there. I don't know.
I have. Well, it's like your members in the gym. I have high hopes and aspirations that they'll squat to depth and turn up for overhead squat day, but...
Oh, shots fired.
You know, just saying. So, anywho, on that note, as we regather for another episode of the MDCP podcast, joined by the full team today, Christina, Sam, and Ash. How are we all?
Great.
Wonderful.
Good. Christina,
we're very giddy today. I'm excited.
I don't know what you guys are on today, but Sam, there's another gift I'm going to make out of that for sure. Christina is freshly back from the latest affiliate summit in Boston. So big weekend. Sure, she will have lots of topics for us to talk about over coming weeks, no doubt. But today, which I guess is a good little segue into today's topic, which is about the importance of networking and building professional relationships and actually speaking to other humans and, you know, having powerful relationships of reciprocity, but also learning how to let go of the relationships that maybe don't serve you.
What
big
a novel
topic
concept.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Big topic. Could be triggering for some people, no doubt. But let's dig in. Who wants to kick off?
Well, I will, and I reiterated this just a minute ago before Lisa hit the go button. But this is all Ashley's fault. So Ashley put on a fantastic webinar on our mindset mandates, where she talked about the things that we want you to be thinking about, the shifts that we want you to be making in your mindset, and one of them is partnering. And it ties in. They're all interconnected. It ties in with several of the other ones. But I thought to myself, there are enough of us. I have met enough coaches who are so comfortable standing in front of a room of 7 to 30 people and running them through a thruster progression or how to do burpee box jump overs. But the moment we talk about like going to one person and saying, "Hi, this is who I am," all of a sudden, like we just want to crawl inside of ourselves. And so I thought this would be an apt discussion to bring to this little format so we can all trade war stories and of course talk about some ways to hopefully help people not make the same mistakes that at least I know I made. Speak for myself on that one.
Yeah, and it's a big area where, you know, we're very good about doing what we need to do to teach, see, correct, and help our members. But when it comes to doing something for ourselves, we can get that whole ick feeling about it. And if I reach out to you because I see that we could, you know, work together well, but it still feels like I don't want to be manipulative. I don't want to be just reaching out because, hey, this could be good for both of us, but I don't want it to feel There's a whole heap of feels associated with it that we, you know, need to get past and move past, particularly if you're coming at it. We talk about sales not having that ick feeling when we're not manipulating, where we're coming at it from a genuine point of help. So we can almost view some of these networking relationships that we want to pursue or that we identify the same way. Am I doing this with an intention to help or build a relationship of reciprocity?
Yeah.
Or am I just wanting to get a foot up on the top of your head kind of deal? Well, you know, like the cartoons, they just stomp people into the water.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Now I know. I think that it's funny because there's so many feels. It's kind of like sales. We come in with these preconceived notions, and I know I do. And when I think about wanting to reach out to a person, there's a part of me, like I know objectively that old saying of, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with other people, find a partner. I know that that's true. I've experienced it personally. I've been a part of amazing teams, and I know that like the stuff that can get done when people work collaboratively, far outstrips anything that I could do by myself. And yet, when I think about trying to grow myself, my business, my work, my relation, like my effectiveness, the thought of like reaching out to someone else, the first thing that comes back is, I can do it by myself. Like, I ignore entirely the fact that not only is it likely that I will grow faster and go farther with a relationship, but that like it's necessary. Almost nobody can do things by themselves, but I think I can. I think I'm special enough, you know?
And I think too, like we've all had it where someone has unsolicited slid into your DMs on the socials, because it's, way easier to contact people now on social media with hey, I just checked out your account, blah, blah, blah. And this whole spiel of ickiness comes out. And it's like, wow, I liked one of your posts. And now like you just come on in here and made yourself at home. It's like, and being overly familiar. And that makes us then feel icky about reaching out to other people that we might identify with or think that we can have a good collaboration with for whatever reason. Because, we know that they're getting the same stuff we're getting. All these random people just slide their DMs. It's like, hey, I'm Sam. I really like your stuff. Like, I think we could work well together. Like, it's, again, it comes back to that values. Like, how are you coming at what's your angle for this? Is it from a value of, providing reciprocity in that relationship? Like, what can I do for you? Is it going to be a worthwhile thing, not just what's in it for me? And social media makes it so much easier to just have access to people.
Yeah. You said, what's the angle? And it always makes me think of a very old Christmas movie. In White Christmas, Bing Crosby says, there's always an angle. I don't know if any of you have seen this movie, but like, he's not wrong. And it doesn't, but everybody thinks like if there's an angle, that's a negative thing, but it's not, right? Because if you're going up to somebody and going like, wow, their CrossFit gym's doing amazing, and I would love to be able to bring my gymnastics clinic there, and they have full-time coaches that can't find the time to do a gymnastics clinic, and their members aren't going to pay for the gymnastics course, then you not going in and saying, hey, I've noticed that you guys like are doing really well. You have some members that are really interested in local competitions, and does anybody struggle with gymnastics? Like, you could offer them something that they've been dying to offer their members and they haven't been able to. But like, you will never know if you don't try. And you don't just go in and say, hey, I want to offer a gymnastics clinic. What could you pay me? Right? Like, it's more like, your members seem to really love local competitions, and they seem to bring a great energy, and your gym has like, you have to have conversation and say like, what have you guys been missing? Like, what do you do really well? Like, is there somewhere that you could need some help? Like, you have to be willing to have a conversation, not just sell or throw a pitch at their face or at their DM, right? Like, we're so used to all that. And unfortunately, like, it is a norm now. You have, 10 random requests to be read in your DMs that have nothing to do with anything, and you don't even read half of them.
Yeah.
People don't need more of that. They need more like genuine people in their lives that are trying to better, themselves and others, that they can then be able to offer it to their community or whatever the case may be. I use that gymnastics course as, a clinic as an example, but like, my point of that was just be a genuine human and have a conversation. If nothing else, you're both in a CrossFit, you care about people, you could talk about something, right?
Yeah. I think that's like, that's where I struggle with it, because I think like, I don't know, all of these all of these doubts start to come into play of like, okay, like if I start talking to if this person has reached out to me and I start talking to them, like, you know, is this somebody that I match values with? Like, is the association with this person going to ruin my reputation with another person? Like, what the CrossFit world is very small, you know, it's large, but it's very small. And so I start to have all these doubts and I question things. But I think, like, to Ashley's point, being really genuine and just, you know, making these connections is important. Like, my job, like, case in point, I started substitute coaching at the gym that I'm at, super part-time, like once, maybe twice a week for a very brief time when they were in need. And then, you know, I stopped, you know, they didn't really need me anymore. And I moved down to another job. And flash forward about a year and a half later, I'm now the head coach at that gym. And like, I would have never, like, when I left there, when I stopped, you know, kind of sub coaching at night, I never had the plan, or never would I have assumed that I would end up there, just because of like where I lived and like the vicinity of where I was. And now I'm moving up there to be at this gym. And so because I, you know, was able to, you know, create a good relationship with these gym owners, you know, whether or not I saw where things were going to go, I now have a full-time job. So like, something I've learned about networking is like, you never know. Like, a connection that you make at one point may not be like an instant connection, but you have no idea what is coming down the road for you. So like, you also have to be cautious that like you're not burning bridges for the sake of it, you know, like, so that genuine, like, connection and curiosity for meeting people and connecting with people, you know, you just don't know. You don't know what seed you're planting.
Yeah.
And understanding what, like, it might be a no today, but instead of like just going, well, screw it, setting fire to everything, it's like, well, a no today is not a no forever. And also, it's just not a reflection of me or what I have to offer and going, well, that's it, I'm not talking to anyone ever again because one person said no. It's like, okay, how do I continue to cultivate and build this relationship? As you know, Tony will always talk about, he's a collector of people, and he has a whole network of amazing people that he has connected with and built meaningful relationships with, that he can then, you know, collaborate with. And even if someone at first doesn't seem to need something you have, you don't know where their journey's taking them. You don't know where your journey's taking you. And it's important not to get into that all or nothing mindset with it as well.
Yeah. And I love Ashley's point about doing so genuinely and with empathy and literally attempting to build a relationship. You know, like, if you were going to highlight a first big takeaway, that's probably at the top of the list, is you have to make this real. And the upside is if you're trying to be genuine, the likelihood that you actually burn a bridge is like probably zero, you know? And so you end up coming into a relationship or whatever it ends up being as a real human being, and someone who is not just there holding your hand out, you know? And it's funny, I know the story, Christina, about how you got plugged into where you are. And I always knew that you were going to end up running that place. Like, that was in the back of my head. Like, I remember being like, the person I know who you want. I know who you want to have come in and do this. Like, you are 100% the person they were looking for. And it wasn't immediate.
Yeah.
But was it the right thing? Ultimately, I mean, I believe so. Because I know the work that you're doing over there. I think that, you know, we can't avoid networking. It's so incredibly important, right? And that was I believe that was like a one-on-one introduction that allowed you to connect with that facility, correct?
Yeah. I had met you once or twice before, so that was like the kind of shoe in the door, but yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, like the old-fashioned way, a person who met another person, you know, and to Tony's point, a collector of human beings, he's fantastic at that. But as we so often say, we're not like, this isn't the 1980s, and I'm not selling cars in a lot where I have to physically interact with every single human being, right? We have supercomputers that everybody carries in their pocket, and we have the magic and also menace of social media, and we can do these same things, be genuine, try to facilitate actually helping people online as well as offline. And I love, Lisa, that you talked about like sliding into the DMs and making it, you know, let's say icky instead of creepy. I was going to say creepy.
Oh God,
That's a whole other
Different
kind of DM.
That's someone else's podcast. But like, it doesn't have to be icky. And I've seen some fantastic examples of how to do that. And I've had some really, really interesting conversations, and it's a great example. There's a gentleman who works at the University of Virginia, I believe, who is a mathematics professor. He's the dean of the math department. He's also a swimming geek. And so for funsies, he set up the UVA women's swim team with like some crazy video, video feedback system where they can watch the swimmers underwater, and he's telling them, you need to pause your left leg kicking by like half a second longer. And crazy stuff that he's doing. Well, it's working because they've been untouchable for the last several years. And so an article on that person was forwarded to me, and this person who forwarded it said, you need to talk to this person about CrossFit. And I'm like, okay. So I sent this dude an email. He responded within 20 minutes. And he was like, yes, I'd love to do this. This sounds like a lot of fun. I can't do it right now because the school year is about to start, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to end up having a conversation with this guy who's a PhD mathematics dean about optimal human movement and how we could branch it out of swimming in his particular application and hopefully into something like CrossFit. Like,
interesting.
Right?
Yeah, and I think like this is interesting because I had this, as Lisa said, I was at the Northeast Affiliate Summit this weekend, representing Fitfiliate, and so I had this interaction where recently I, it was kind of up in the air, if I was going to stay at my job, leave. There was just some things going on. And I had a conversation. I had a conversation with a local affiliate owner who's very successful in this industry. And I saw him at the affiliate summit this weekend, and my heart sank because I was like, oh my gosh, I had a conversation with this guy, and then I completely forgot to like touch base with him and just say like, thank you for your time, but I decided to go in a different direction, something of that nature. But he was so happy and excited to see me and had heard through the grapevine what I was doing with my career and my next step, and was genuinely supportive of that move that I made. So I feel as though I kind of had this moment personally where I was like, oh, I made a connection with this guy. It didn't work out. Like, it didn't work out in the sense that like I didn't go work for him, but we made a great connection. We had, he told me, hey, I still think about like the conversation I had with you was really great. Glad we're connected, so it's like, we're still connected. And I didn't do anything wrong. I simply was getting conversations with people and trying to decide what my next career move was. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think like initially I just thought like, oh my gosh, like this is so bad. Like I wasted his time. And it's like, no, like it's just conversations. Like that's it. And there's nothing wrong. You're not wasting somebody's time by having that conversation. Again, you never know what's going to happen. And maybe it's a not right now, like with Sam's connection, but like, who knows,
That's such a cool point.
And to understand that and to dig further in as like one of the questions that we raise when talking about this topic is how do we decide which relationships will be helpful or harmful? Now, you could have handled that one completely differently and gone, oh, I'm just going to stay in a wide arc away from this guy because, I feel weird about the thing, and I decided it was a no and whatever. It's almost like dating. Weird. But, it's not you, it's me, that whole thing. But you can actually, frame that differently, but also understanding, that was not the right move for you at that time. However, that relationship is still a helpful relationship.
Yeah.
So how do we navigate that space is looking at the opportunities in front of us and deciding which are helpful and which are harmful.
Well, according to Ashley, who recently ran a webinar on our mindset mandates.
I shouldn't even be here. I should just let you guys talk about that.
But it's incredibly apropos. Like, hopefully, if you're doing something and you're trying to network with people, you've done the front end work of trying to understand what you want your niche to be. And I'm going to say what you want it to be rather than what it is, because maybe you change your mind. Like, maybe you're trying to figure that out, and like you put a couple toes in a couple ponds and you try to figure out what it is that really lights you on fire inside. And like, that's a good indication that like that thing speaks to you. Until you find that thing, or until you narrow down what that is, it's okay to try things. And in trying things, it's okay to begin this partnership process where you're looking for people who are in your field, who are talking about the things you want to talk about, who are doing things inside of that field that either you have had the benefit of learning from, or maybe you want to emulate that process. You want to join that team, or you want to, help contribute to this cause, whatever it ends up being. Like, you can, based on what you want to do, you can look out and be like, okay, cool. I am passionate about developing aerobic capacity in CrossFitters. Well, you probably want to pay attention to Chris Hinshaw. If you find yourself being passionate about insert thing here, well, chances are there's someone else who's, there's a hashtag for it, man. It's not hard to go find those things. And sure, you got to sift a little bit, but you have to be proactive about these things. And this is one of our other key takeaways is the onus is on you a little bit. Like, if Chris Hinshaw is a great example, right? Chris Hinshaw has a big following. I do not. If I decide all of a sudden that like aerobic capacity is my jam, that's all I want to talk about, I can't sit on my butt and wait for Chris Hinshaw to discover who I am. It's probably not going to work in that direction, right? Instead, what I can do is I can be proactive, and I can say, listen, here's a thing that I think is important, or here's a thing that I like that he does that maybe I can help him do, or do easier, or do better, or something like that. And with asking nothing in exchange, I reach out to him or his team or something like that and say, hey, I love what you do. It's really inspired me to that end. I put together X, Y, or Z. I'd like to offer it to you guys. Hopefully you find it useful. If so, let me know. And if not, I hope you have a great day. I'm providing value for free inside of the niche with other people who are doing the thing that I want to do.
So how do we determine, though, looking at opportunities that land on us, what's harmful? Because everything can seem like a good opportunity when people are like, oh my God, Sam Burns reached out to me and he wants to, maybe.
Said no one ever.
But, maybe someone gets that and they go and they're like, and, insert name here, but is reach out to me, but maybe that's not the right relationship for them. So how do we, understand that and not jump at every golden apple?
Wait.
Yes, Ash.
We can use this. Sam, we're gonna have a moment. I'm going.
Okay.
I'm
here for it.
So it's not necessarily that those relationships. So I don't know if I'm speaking to that the relationships are harmful.
Okay.
But opportunities that maybe are not meant to or will not serve the direction you're trying to go. All right. So Sam recently gave me an opportunity to work with him. Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, I did.
Sam, now I admire Sam. I learn a lot from Sam. Obviously, we have similar values. We're in this space together. There's a lot that we hold, in as far as our values and direction that we're going. We hold the same kind of, opinions and visions.
Sure.
Sam made me an offer to do something with him and his company. And I was very excited about it. And I had to pause because I had to make sure this was going, like, if I did this, this would serve both of us. And I kindly and with like nothing but love declined his offer because
She told me to screw off.
Yeah.
but because I realized for me to continue in my direction, I would cling to that as a distraction and would be able to kind of use it as a crutch.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean it wasn't a great opportunity, but it wasn't the right one that was going to move me in the direction I was going. So with that said, just as using that example, how did I know that? I asked myself where I'm trying to go next, and if that was going to help me move in that direction or away from that direction. And I got my answer. And it doesn't mean I've lost that connection, right? Like it's
Wow.
We never talk anymore.
Well,
but
It's
I
been
think
wicked awkward.
and it's good to think about it too in that term, Ash, is that when we talk about whether relationships are harmful or helpful, we don't mean necessarily harmful as in bad man run away kind of
exactly.
thing.
And
It's not just aligning with your why and your your values. It's a great opportunity, but it's harmful to your overall direction, not harmful as in bad.
right. And and there's different ones, right? There are ones that are going to, that maybe are not the right, if somebody's approaching you and they don't have your core values, but they're doing something that you want to do. Again, going back to the gymnastics thing, let's say somebody offers you to do a gymnastics clinic, but like their core values in their gym don't match yours, and they don't pay attention to their members, and they don't really coach their members in their classes. Is it going to serve them overall? Like, for you to come in and do that? Or is that going to be more work for you because their members don't even know what coaching is? Like, there are so many different ways that you can determine whether or not a networking partnership is serving you or not, or whether an opportunity will serve you or not, right? And it doesn't, like Lisa said, it doesn't always mean it's bad. Like, I want to network with Sam forever. Like we're going to keep this relationship as long as he doesn't kick me out. But that particular opportunity wasn't meant for me and wouldn't keep me moving forward. Where if you go somewhere else and maybe their entire overall mission and core values don't match yours, then it's kind of like, I don't even know if you want to waste the time with the partnership. It doesn't mean you have to be rude, but is it worth going in and checking them out and then doing multiple meetings? Probably not, right? I kind of rambled a little. So.
No. That was great, and I want to come to your defense a little bit. You did not tell me to go screw, so I want to make sure that everybody knows that.
It was much more direct.
Go screw is the polite version. Ashley has done it. Ashley has done a phenomenal amount of work to figure out what it is that she wants to do. And also, she had a coach, and she consulted with her coach, and, got away from the itty bitty shitty committee of one that lives inside of her skull, and got an outside perspective. And the relationship would not have been toxic, and I love that you used the word distraction. Would it have provided you traction to get to the thing that you wanted to? Almost not. Almost certainly not, right? Doesn't mean it was a bad opportunity. I have, and I'll speak to the other side, I have taken opportunities, which in retrospect, even though I was effective, I did my best, I made money, whatever, I was not the right person to be in that role. I was not the person who should have said yes to that opportunity. And the onus is on me. Knowing what I know now, the onus is on me to have done my due diligence better instead of being distracted by X, Y, or Z. And in that particular case, for me, it was 100% distraction. I lost 8 months professionally because of that distraction.
And it can be hard to navigate through where you're like, wow, this is a shiny object. This is, maybe it's what I want to do. I don't have anything else at the moment. Maybe this is the thing while you're on that search. And unfortunately, when you're looking for your thing or your avenue, what it can lead you to do, and what I want people to be mindful of, is not jumping at every opportunity and then going, nope, not for me, not for me, not for me. And it's like, well, you're kind of like burning a lot of people on your way through. So it's kind of going to limit when you do decide what your thing is, how do you do that? Like, have the thought, which is where having a coach is beneficial. And I know that's something that was valuable in this process to Ash, who had a coach, is like, is this aligning with your goals and intentions? Is this aligning with where you say you want to be? And it's like, oh, actually, no. Well, cool. Then that makes the decision easier. And to have someone ask you those questions and keep you accountable, because we're all like, a 3-year-old left with an open pantry door sometimes. It's like, go in and take all the things because we can, and we've been left unsupervised. It's where a coach will come and give us that little filter of, this is a great opportunity, agreed, but is it the right thing for you? Yeah. And the way that we need to work through that. And, it's doing things, and you may have heard us talk about this a little bit if you've been here for more than one episode, about your why and where you're going, that really will help guide you in some of these decisions. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but that's something we talk about occasionally. Maybe we should talk about it more. I don't know. But that will help make these decisions a little bit easier, rather than, like just swatting at flies as everything goes past you kind of deal. So how do we, we've talked about the ickiness, and if someone reaches out to us and trying to identify what's, a healthy kind of collaboration, what's not, but, how do we take the initiative ourselves and be proactive in seeking out these relationships and collaborations? How can we be, I guess, positively proactive in, and again, it's the same thing. I don't want to do a scattergun approach and reach out to everyone and see who gets back to me. It's, being very specific and targeted and methodical in your approach, so that as we've talked about, the interactions are genuine and authentic, and relationships of reciprocity. So how do we be proactive about that?
Well, I think so. I want to answer that in a roundabout way, but I also need to backtrack just slightly, because I think this whole idea of kind of differentiating like a good a good connection versus one that's not going to serve you, I think a big point that we kind of glossed over is this idea of really trusting your gut and trusting your intuition. And I think that goes hand in hand also with the idea of the why and whatnot. And I'm going to get to your question with this too, Lisa. But I think that, the more and more that I have interacted with people, and the more people that I interacted with this past weekend, there's a feeling in your gut. And when you're having a really good conversation with somebody that is genuine and that is fulfilling of your values and what you're trying to do, it feels good. You feel supported, you feel understood, you feel heard, you feel like somebody's connecting with you. And that's not to say that they necessarily just like are within an echo chamber with you and see things the same way, but like, for example, I think like Sam and I's relationship, Sam sees things very differently from me, but
me too.
He's, one of my, me too.
I think everyone has a me too moment there.
I don't understand this Sam guy at all.
But Sam is like one of the first people that I think of when I, need some help, need some support. He's a great person to be connected with, despite the fact that we see the world a little bit differently, and that's fine. So I'm not saying the warm and fuzzies only come from people who are like you. It's just, when you get the warm fuzzies and versus when you don't. And so I think that by leaning into that, that's what guides us towards how we want to proactively seek out relationships, right? If I'm getting DMs from somebody that's just like really like doesn't feel good, feels kind of icky, like it just, it just isn't, it's not really driving. Why am I wasting my time, thinking about that, whether or not I should network with this person? The answer is no, right? But if I have an interaction with somebody at an affiliate summit or in my DMs or whatever it may be, where I'm just like, yeah, like this person, like this is so cool. It's like proactively go after that, right? Like talk to them, connect with them, send them things that, get your wheels turning and see, if you guys are on the same page and like foster that relationship. And then I think it just like, you just naturally want to lean into those types of conversations. I just think that we all tend to want to respond to everybody, want to answer everybody, want to be polite to everybody. And I'm not saying just be an asshole to the people that don't give you the warm fuzzies, but it's like, don't waste your mental space in trying to seek out relationships with those people. It's like narrow down the scope of who to proactively connect with by following your gut.
I think it's a big thing to trust that as well. And I was just reflecting as you were talking there. I mean, we could probably publish this podcast as how to effectively date in the online world. Is like,
well,
there
I
are a lot
suck
of
at that. So like not. No.
If you want to have a meaningful conversation with Christina, reach out, send us a DM. We'll filter it. But don't. That's not our jam. Sorry, that's not our why. That's not our
Million Dates Coach podcast.
But yeah,
867-5309.
We would probably get a gazillion more listeners. I guarantee you. I don't know that they'd like the content, but I think it would be appropriate. But this will make Tony's head spin when he hears this one. But anywho, we digress. But it's about those, trusting your gut and also understanding that the relationships take time to cultivate. And if I'm investing something where there's just no jive, then let's not waste your time or my time. Let's not continue down the path. Right. But let's, pick up that feeling within ourselves like, this is not really going anywhere. It's kind of a dead end. But I like what you said, Christina, is like send them things that are relevant to them or they might find interesting or, can have a discussion about, rather than just going, this is like, I actually need you to help me with this. Mm-hmm. And, it's no different to someone who does come on a dating app and says, hey, can I send you a pic? Like, let's not go fully down that rabbit hole, but you know what I mean? First interaction, they're wanting to, whatever. Whereas this is like, hey, like, I'd like to get to know you. It's like, you got to build that relationship. Relationships are relationships. Doesn't matter whether they're business, a romantic friendship, within the family. You've still got to build those relationships and build that trust.
Yeah.
Well, and go ahead, Ashley.
I was just going to kind of mention, so like we talked about how we can't just go in and like ask for things, right? Like we want to provide them value so they can hopefully we've done the research or we've been connecting with them a few times, had the warm fuzzies. And so like, we want to give them something so they can see what the value we're trying to provide them. But like Lisa just said, it is eventually it becomes a relationship that you're pursuing as a partnership. And if you are always doing everything and they're not taking any action forward on their part, then that could be another, red flag for the partnership relationship as well. Because, obviously we have to be proactive. I think we've made that very clear for ourselves and also provide the value that we want to share. Yeah. But it is not a relationship if that trust and value isn't reciprocated as well, right? And they're not So there's a fine line to dance with that as well.
Right.
But
Yep.
just wanted to point
So
that out.
as we get to the point of we want to, put a pin in this one and kind of wrap it up, like any sort of thoughts from, we'll go around the room again, is like any final thoughts on this particular topic to help our listeners, viewers get some value for how to approach this. Sam?
Like love, you have to be a little brave, right? You make a connection with someone. What? You guys are just feeding me softballs over here. Like Ashley's
just
line
the tone. Just the tone of it, Sam. That was.
I
It was
almost
an
did it in the
infomercial.
voice of the world's most interesting man, but so like it's scary to reach out and to make a connection. It's always going to be a little scary, especially if you're trying to make a genuine connection. You have to be a little brave. I'm not saying that it should be entirely one-sided. I'm saying you should absolutely, for lack of a better term, protect yourself from distraction. And part of doing that correctly is knowing what your goals are. But be proactive. Be a little fearless. Be brave.
Ash?
I mean, how can you top be brave?
Don't be brave.
Christine, I really like what you said about your gut. Like there's, something to be said for our intuition, and it how many times have we ignored it and then gone back and been like, if I had only just listened to that little feeling I had that was like, this is not so great, or this is awesome. And don't rush. Right? We get excited when we want to get to that next level of finding a partner or of moving to whatever it is you're trying to accomplish next. But like these things take time. They're like seeds have to be planted. They have to be nourished with love. And like, so be patient with it. Don't make like if there's pressure to make a decision on anything right away, like that's a big red flag, right? Like move with like, curiosity, compassion, care. Like it's just
Intention.
Intention. Yeah.
Christina?
I just think, everything they just said is great. And just remembering that a no is not a no forever and a yes is not a yes forever. You're not like writing, contracts in blood here by connecting with people. It's,
That got macabre.
you just you follow your gut, trust your intuition, and go out there and connect with people who love what you love. Make it fun.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I think that's a perfect note to end. That is make it fun.
And
it doesn't have
Tony
to be
would
big
say,
and scary.
Tony would say, do you want to have a beer with them? Like, could you sit and have a beer with them or a cup of coffee? Right?
Yeah. It's have fun and build those connections and enjoy learning along the way. So go forth, connect with the world, and everyone needs everyone else. So find the right people to connect with. Don't just it's interesting when you said, Ash, plant your seeds. Like plant your seeds. Don't just throw them to the wind and hope they find a bit of dirt to leverage onto. Like plant your seeds, take some action, and do some things that scare you a little bit, because you just never know where it might lead.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, this ends the MDCP dating podcast. I feel like we've done today. It's if this is relevant to you in that field, yay! I'm glad we were of service. But if you want more business related stuff, please follow us over at FitFelliot on the grams. That's where we hang out. Share this podcast far and wide with anyone that may benefit, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Woohoo!